We started a little group of greenkeepers called, by the opponents, the Sons of Golf.
Well, the group is actually old. It used to be some of the course managers that was before us who actually started the group, and now the group is, we call it younger guys.
The objective is mainly to share experiences, but then we have some more specific projects within the group. So we all course managers and just like each other. So we meet up and share experiences. That could be just a normal coursework and walk and talk. But in at least once a year we have a project that we call Tour de Fungus.
This is actually the best day of the year. This is the Tour de Fungus, where my turf group are meeting here in November, and we visit each other's golf courses, one green at each place, 7 golf courses, and we do all kinds of measurements, and we're trying to share knowledge so we can get through the winter disease-free, or at least with less disease.
So we start early in the morning at one course. We are 7 in the group at the moment, and then we go from course to course in one day, have about half an hour on a specific green, and just do a lot of measurements.
I've had a chance to visit Denmark a few times in the past, and I've gone on something called the Tour de Fungus. That is a visit in one day to 7 golf courses, visiting one green on each golf course and checking for fungus, checking for species composition, and measuring the playing performance of the green with things like firmness and the quality of the ball roll and so on. The thing that's really interesting about this Tour de Fungus is some of those golf courses haven't used fungicides or other pesticides for years, some more than a decade. The other courses on the Tour de Fungus in that group, they are trying to manage the disease with a minimum amount of chemicals. So specifically, the disease that they're trying to control is pink snow mold or microdochium patch.
My name is Beurling. I'm born in Sweden and lived in Denmark here for 55 years or something, and I still try to learn Danish. And I've been greenkeeper here in Furesø Golf Club since the start in 75, I think it was. The chairman asked me, because it was a farmland, he asked me if can you build a golf course here? And I said I could. I have been greenkeeper before in Åsärd and outside Stockholm. We get fed up by starting them every spring without grass on the greens, because the poet died in the snow mold and so on. So we thought after the Minister of the Environment said golf courses shouldn't use any pesticides any longer. Then we asked each other what to be done. How could we survive? And we started a little group of greenkeepers called, by the opponents, the Sons of Golf. And it was quite fun. We put our head together and start to argue and discuss how to handle the problem. And from there we sort of looked into, we said, if we join together and help each other, we have 160 years experience to start with.
It's a group of course managers which are quite close and share a lot of things, both maintenance-wise, but it could also be budgets or salaries. So we kind of share everything together in a close group. But yeah, the Tour de Fungus once a year where we go around and visit all the courses, one green on each course at the same day. It's one of the things we've done for 10 plus years. That was the concern when we go back 10 years ago. the snow mold was the biggest concern. That's why the group wanted to do a Tour de Fungus. We did talk about maybe we should change it because now we see more dollar spot. So maybe it should be a summer tour instead.
So do you think you've solved that pink snow mold problem through the information shared through the experience group?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we can see the result, and I think the courses started way apart, and over the years we've seen that they're more uniform, even though we do maintenance a little bit differently, but still sharing experience from each other has learned that the good or bad things. So I think everybody had to take in bits and pieces through their own maintenance program, and over the years we've seen the quality is more similar than it was in the beginning, definitely. So we do see a lot less snow mold than we did 10 years ago.
We together, and we have a specific date, and we go together and get a lot of good data. So we've done that for, I think it's 12 years or something like that now. So quite good data, and we have definitely learned a lot from that. And that was specific to deal with snow mold in the winter time, which used to be a big problem for us. Our numbers, when we look back 10, 12 years ago, it was not unusual to see 25-30% damage from snow mold. I would say now if we see more than 1%, we think it's a lot. And that's causes, some of them are using very limited amount of fungicides, and half of the courses are using none at all. Nothing. No growth regulator, no fungicides, no pesticide at all.
And we had this British connection, Chris Haspel. He brought us over to the island and Great Britain and Scotland and looked into different golf courses, and he explained what the difference was. Someone had a lot of money but no grass, and opposite. So I fall over the literature of Jim Arthur and thought if they could have this good tournament golf courses without water irrigation system and without NPK and so on, they must have some knowledge we don't. So we went back, started to implement the red fescue grasses and some bent grasses and try to handle them, and on that way we are walking now. And Thomas have a sort of what do you call it? Follow the strategy and follow the stuff results and the grass experiments and make it working. In fact, and rise the mowing height and treated the fescue I mean the other guys around in Scandinavia said crazy guys, can't be done on my golf course, and we have proven it's possible.
It's easier to learn from mistakes, absolutely, I think.
So by putting the group together,
yeah,
you've got more mistakes.
Exactly. And but I think we only discover the mistakes if we know what we have done. So the data behind and sharing data is essential. Otherwise it will be based on feelings and talks, but we need some data to back up what we have actually done. And I said earlier that the timing of things seems to be quite important. So that's one example could be, it was we were all taught in school that we needed to punch hole in the greens going into the winter so they could drain. None of us is vertidraining our greens anymore in the autumn. If we do, they need to go dormant before, but if we still have a little bit of growth, you just end up with a lot of disease. So just by looking at what we have done, machinery-wise and maintenance-wise, what we have applied and stuff like that, and the timing of it, I think we have learned and learning from each other all the time. Yeah, it seems like just the disease or the pink snow mold needs oxygen, so we can see it starts right around the punched hole, so in the circle around where there's more oxygen available. We have discussed that quite many times. We've seen some courses they have year-round play, also in the wintertime, leaving the flag in the same position. It's almost dead grass, very firm, a little bit muddy maybe, but there's no disease. And if you go a little bit further out, and especially around bunker edges where you see more sand splats, probably less compaction, less oxygen, you often see a lot more pink snow mold there.
I'm so interested, I'm just so fascinated in this topic. How can we do innovative things in turfgrass management? How can we produce excellent turfgrass surfaces? How can we produce surfaces that are acceptable for the pros on the DP World Tour, that are fine for the sponsors of the event, that are fine for the television viewers, that are fine for the competitors, that are fine for the members? How can we do that in the most sustainable way possible? And I think this is something that's really, really interesting for me. So, of course, we all know this may not be directly applicable where you are because you have the ability to use chemicals, but seeing the success that the turf managers here in Denmark are having, seeing the success that they're having with producing excellent turfgrass surfaces, surfaces that are rated very high, rated very much above average on a international comparison level based on my observations and measurements of playing conditions all around the world. Seeing that is just something that's so fascinating for me, and I think it's something that we all have the ability to learn from. Now, whether it's the specific things, the specific grass species or the specific grass varieties that are being used here, or the specific management techniques, I don't know that that is directly applicable unless you have the same climate. Unless you have the same climate, then some of that specific information would be really useful. But what's going to be useful for everybody, whether you're in Singapore, whether you're in Sydney, whether you're in San Francisco, the thing that is really applicable to everyone is some of the techniques that have been used by the experience group of greenkeepers here in the Copenhagen area, how they've shared information and learned the things that don't work. They learn the things that don't work, they share that among themselves, and perhaps it's by a process of elimination. It's obviously observation and common sense, but it's a systematic way to go about challenging yourself when you don't have all of the tools that you may have had at your disposal in the past. How do you go about finding a way to manage a problem to a level that the golfers will be happy and you can still have an excellent golf course?